kind of boring, aren't they? Well, they don't have to be. If you're confident with your scale practicing, and if you spend a little bit of time doing it, you're going to figure it out. Let's work on it. So a scale is like a ladder. We go up steps, we come down steps. If you miss a step, there's a problem. You fall down. In scales, we follow the same pattern no matter what key you start on the piano. There are a couple of different flavors of scale, let's call them. There are major scales. There are minor scales. And then there's a whole bunch of other scales that I'm not even going to touch on in this video for brevity and time's sake. So in order to properly understand how to play scales, you have to know half steps and whole steps. I think that's the most basic thing. So at the piano, whenever you are playing from one key to the next, that's known as a half step, okay? And a half step can be from a white key to a black key, or it can be from a white key to a white key. For example, B to C. There is no key in between there. That's your half step. The other white key half step is from E to F. Okay? So, half steps. What happens when you put two halves together? You get a whole. So a whole step is whenever you are skipping a key in between I just played a whole tone scale, which I said I wasn't going to talk about, but since I just played it, there it is. A whole tone scale has no half steps in it. Also doesn't have 8 notes, but that's another thing. So how does one learn to play scales and understand how scales work? Understand that it's a pattern. Major scale never deviates from that pattern. So if I want to play a scale starting on C, that's my first note. It's called the tonic. We're going to go up 2 whole steps. Whole step to D, whole step to E. Then we play a half step to F. Then we play 3 whole steps. Whole to G, whole step to A, whole step to B, half step to C. Okay? Not rocket science, it's just a pattern. And then to come down, we do the pattern in reverse. Down a half step, whole, 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 half, whole, whole. All right? And for simplicity's sake, I'm only going to focus on the scales that share a similar fingering. So for our purposes, that will be a scale starting on C, a scale starting on G, a scale starting on D, A, and E. I don't know if you noticed this, but each one of those scales, each one of those notes is 5 notes apart. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's important. File that away somewhere in your memory. Okay, so we've just played a C scale using that pattern. Tonic, which is the home note of the scale, 2 whole steps, followed by a half step, then 3 whole steps, followed by a half step. Okay? Let's try that pattern starting on a different note. Let's say I want to play a major scale starting on A. I know, I'm jumping out real quick. So A is our tonic. It's the home note. It's the first note of the scale. Followed by 2 whole steps. So we play B, then we play C sharp because there needs to be a key in between 2 whole steps. Next comes our half step, followed by 3 whole steps. E to F sharp, to G sharp, half step at the top. Okay, so I'm going to walk you through that again. Starting on A, tonic, whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. And then in reverse, half, whole, 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 okay? And this doesn't even involve knowing what sharps you're playing, what notes you're playing. This is strictly playing the scale based on a pattern, okay? Doesn't worry about key signatures. Those come later, all right? So let's talk now about fingering for these 5 major scales, C, G, D, A, and E. So we're always going to take right hand first, unless you're left dominant, which is fine. Right hand, 1, 2, 3. We sneak our left hand or our thumb underneath, half a step, and then whole step, whole step, whole step. Whole step is just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let me try that again. Tonic, whole, half step, sneak your thumb under, then 3 whole steps. 2, 3, 4, half step. And then the same thing in reverse to come down. Make sure that you master one hand at a time before you try to put them together, and I'll show you a trick for that. Left hand is going to start on C, your 5th finger. Remember, our hands are opposite. 5th finger, 5, 4, here's our half step, but that doesn't change our fingering. Remember that the hands are laid out differently. 1, 2, 3, we have to cross the thumb under for your right hand. The left hand, if we're starting on 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, we can just go right up. So again, tonic, whole, half, whole. We've just gone 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm going to move my 3rd finger over my thumb. 3, 2, 1. Okay, and then in reverse, half step down to B, whole step to A. My thumb sneaks underneath my hand for G, and then it's just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, practice that until it feels normal and natural and smooth and no bumps. Now, putting hands together for scales, I always start with contrary motion scales. Contrary means the opposite direction. Parallel is when your hands are moving in the same direction. Since a contrary motion scale has you playing with the same fingers at the same time, but different notes, it's much easier to coordinate. So you can start with 1 thumb each on C's, either an octave apart or on the same C. Doesn't matter. I'm going to keep mine an octave apart just because I like how it feels better. So I play with fingerings, 1, 2, 3, thumbs cross under together, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then I'm going to go in reverse, 4, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1. Okay? Once that is really comfortable, you can try slowly putting your hands together. This is why playing piano is difficult. This is coordination. Which finger goes where? At what time? That's why musicians are smarter. All right. So that's your basic starter for scales. Scales are kind of like the building blocks of music. I think many adults have perhaps traumatic experiences with scales. Maybe they weren't taught to play them properly. Maybe they had to practice them until they were perfect. There's a lot to unpack there. But I find it's kind of like knowing your sight words when you're learning to read. It's kind of like understanding basic sentence structure, where your nouns and verbs are placed. If you don't know those fundamentals, playing piano is going to be very, very difficult. So make sure that you master basic scale playing technique. Make that a part of your daily practice. Let me know what you think in the comments, and I look forward to hearing your scale practice very, very soon with correct fingerings.